Hi all, so today I want to discuss about two different areas of the body that are really important for Highland dancers to understand the balance between. One is the hip flexors. It's a group of muscles here that helps either raise the leg forward or abduct it out to the side and up, away from the body. And often is an area, even for just a person who doesn't even do Highland dancing, but an area that leads to a lot of tightness and it pulls forward the posture. It can put a lot of pressure in that lower back. In contrast to the hip flexors, what often happens is we don't engage the glute muscles, the gluteus maximus, medius, and minimus, three major glute muscles that help to balance out the hip flexors. So we often, as Highland dancers, have overly tight hip flexors from extreme turnout and raising up, or kicking out to the sides, or power movements like the leaps and high cuts. And we underutilize all areas of the glutes. In other words, we're constantly in this externally rotated position, squeezing back here, but we're not practicing to balance out and utilize some of the other areas of the glutes, particularly the gluteus medius and minimus up in the outside part of the side that help with abduction, but in a little bit more of a parallel stance. And if you get an imbalance between your hip flexors and your glutes, it can contribute to misalignment throughout the hips. It also can help contribute to tightness in the lower back. If we don't ever release or relieve those areas and balance them back out. So over time, that can alter dancers' ability to properly lift and utilize their core. So I'm going to show you a big stretch for the hip flexors, as well as some internal and external rotational movements for the hip to help strengthen the glutes. So the first stretch for your hip flexors that I recommend, I'm going to show you from the front view as well from the side view. And you would do this stretch at the end of your workout because it's a static stretch or static hold. You're going to place one foot back, down, and get into like you're in a lunge, okay? And stretching is work, so this is not an easy stretch. Once you get down here, you're still actively engaging your core muscles, your legs, everything to hold this position. Now the leg that you've taken back, that's the glute you need to squeeze, and I mean really squeeze, and immediately you should feel the hips start to press themselves a little forward and open up. You should feel a little bit more stretch here in the front of the hip, right through the hip flexors. At this point, you're squeezing the glutes, so you're working to activate it and engage it and strengthen it by holding it in a contraction, and then bring that same arm up as the leg behind you, reach it to the sky, and then lean over just enough to enhance the stretch down the side and again through the front of the hip. You're gonna hold here for about 20 seconds, and it's a hard hold. You gotta really make sure you keep engaging the glutes, squeezing and holding while you breathe, okay? So it's a lot of work. Keep actively thinking, okay, I have to engage the glutes to hold the stretch. And when you're done, you gently release and come back out of it and repeat it on the other side, okay? I would recommend doing it 2 to 3 times on each side, alternate back and forth. From the side view, just to show you what we did, like I said, you step with one foot back, you drop down, make sure the knee alignment is kind of over this front ankle, squeeze the glute, and immediately that pelvic bone gets more vertical up and down versus being tipped back. So you have more of a neutral or natural hip position, and then raise that arm up and a little bit over as you hold, okay? So I'm dropping this back knee down, this front knee is pretty much in alignment, and I'm holding the stretch, okay? And again, you'd repeat on the other side. So that's a great stretch to activate the glutes, but most importantly, to stretch out the front of the hips, those hip flexors, at the end of your dance practice and workout. Now, to strengthen the glutes and work on internal and external rotation in the hip, I'm going to take you down to the floor. These are 2 exercises. They're kind of compatible with each other, and they're very common to what you see in Pilates. So I'm going to encourage you to start on the floor. You can either rest your head flat on your arm or support your head with your hand. The other top hand, we're going to place on your hip. And it's important that your shoulders are stacked one on top of the other and your hips are stacked one on top of the other, so you don't end up leaning back or rocking forward. And that's where that strength in the abs comes in, okay? So from this position, we're gonna start by just letting yourself to have the toes turned out just enough and the heels turned back, so that we're gonna tap the heel on the back of the leg, lift up, rotate in the hip joint, and tap the toe to the front of the leg. Lift up, tap the heel to the back, lift up, tap the toe to the front. Lift up, heel to the back, lift up, toe to the front. And the goal is to keep everything from the waist up as still as possible, the hips still as possible, and the movement is coming right in that hip joint. Now notice I'm keeping this top leg that's doing the movement pretty close to the bottom leg. So I'm just clearing it as I come up. I'm just tapping in front and just tapping to the back. I'm not too far out to the front and I'm not too far behind us because then we lose control over that hip. So ideally you end up doing about 10 taps to the front and back. So it would be tap back to the front is 1, back to the front is 2, and so on and so forth. After you complete that same leg, we're going to bend it, place the toe in the back, okay? From here we're going to lift the knee up, internally rotate, tap the knee to the front, lift up, externally rotate, tap the toe to the back, okay? So again, same kind of movement, but we've bent the knee. A little bit more movement in the hip required, a little bit more control needed in the abs to not move the hips back and front, right, and rock forward, okay? Same thing, you'd want to execute 10 back and 10 front alternating. Once you finish that, you could sweep it around to the other side to make it even on your body, okay? So those are 2 exercises that I would again do at the end of your workout and then follow it up with your static stretches and you'd be ready to go.